This is the Hake Report. I'm James Hake, your producer, and I have our faithful engineer, Bill, filling in as engineer for us instead of Joel. So thank you, Bill, for that great song by Jesse Lee Peterson at Bond, Rebuilding the Man. And I wanted to play that for you guys because Jesse's always singing, and sometimes it's worship songs like that, so-called Christian worship songs. And then sometimes it is pop music, worldly pop music. But he is always singing, and I don't know if everybody's aware of that. And I wanted to talk a little bit about joy and singing and church and Oprah and all those things. I apologize, too. Some of you may be missing the Hake Report theme music, intro music. Joel has it hidden from us. He did not tell us where he puts that. So if you missed it, sorry. You can check out my Instagram at the Hake Report and watch the music video of the Hake Report theme music. But for now, you can call in at 888-775-3773, 888-77-JESSE, because Jesse is the executive producer and he allows me to use his studio of the Hake Report, for the Hake Report. And so for joy and Christianity and singing and stuff like that, you may have noticed, and I've heard it multiple times, I don't know if you've ever heard it, but some people don't quite like church with Jesse Lee Peterson at Bond, rebuildingtheman.com, because it doesn't have singing at church. We don't tend to have singing at church. Sometimes we do a little bit. Happy birthday and little frills of music when Jesse says something that happens to be a lyric when he's talking. And he'll be like, I should have got you flowers and held your hand. Stuff like that. But Jesse's always singing, but he doesn't force the church to sing. And that's kind of unusual for Christian churches. And many Christians are like, don't you guys worship? Because they think that singing is worship. And many times, I suppose it definitely can be. Anything that you do, you're supposed to do unto the Lord, right? So you're supposed to always be worshiping. You're supposed to always be praying. But singing in particular, I mean, the Bible does say, sing unto the Lord and stuff like that. And especially in the Psalms, because I think King David wrote the Psalms, or many of them, and he was always singing. And he was playing the harp and stuff. He calmed King Saul down by playing the harp, because King Saul was like a miserable person who was the king prior to King David in the Old Testament of Israel. And so it is like, it's a part of life, but some people like use it to excess. You notice the people that we did one of the very first Hake Reports, the very first one, I believe, we talked about music and how people get into music, and there's some of the most miserable people. Musicians are miserable. The people who are addicted to music, so-called, are miserable. When I was the most into music was one of I was just like, very self-absorbed and so-called depressed and stuff like that. It's like kind of a self-indulgent thing to be all into music. And then when you're in a corporate setting, they say like in the church thing, you think that you're in something bigger than yourself. But it can be kind of a trick of the mind. It makes you feel good. And it's not actually worshiping God. You're just worshiping the feelings of singing and music. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. And if you have any pro or con about music, you can call in and talk with me about it. One thing that's very interesting, that I said that Jesse sings all the time, right? And that's partly because I think, he says it, that he has joy. He has perfect peace. And meanwhile, the people who go to church, many of us, and sing and don't feel like singing, or we do feel like singing so that will make us feel better, we don't have joy. It's like a false, we're just forcing it. And so isn't that interesting? Jesse sings like off the cuff all the time, whereas so many people sing to kind of like escape reality, I guess. And so I wanted to talk with you guys a little bit about that, see if anybody who watches this show or watches Jesse has that criticism, because I heard it especially early on when I was telling people to come to Jesse's church, because I first came to Bond 10 years, it was 11 years ago, February 2007. And I really could take or leave the singing. It was nice. In church, we did have singing where I grew up, and there was no problem with it as long as it didn't go too long. And there were certain songs I didn't like that much. But Jesse just didn't happen to have it. It just didn't seem natural, and I didn't ever really ask why. Sometimes he says, "Oh, you can do the hooping and hollering thing in another church, and then come to this one for like the real dialogue and real fellowship." So I have a caller, and caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, James, good morning, man. It's Brandon from Houston.
Hey, Brandon, how are you?
What's up, dude? I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
Fine. Good to hear from you.
Yeah. You too. I just got out of church doing my hoop and hollering.
Nice.
doing the hoop and hollering thing, and then I'm tuning into you, and then church after with Vaughn.
Right on.
Hey, I wanted to bring up something. This is interesting. What this is about today. So, just something to think about, to put in everybody's mind. I grew up and was brought up in a Church of Christ. That was the denomination.
Okay.
I was taught, and it's just known amongst people that go to Church of Christ for their, denomination of Christianity, we only sang with our voices. There were no musical instruments.
Wow.
Just voices.
Okay.
And part of that is there's some scripture somewhere that says something about use your voice. Use your voice to sing, and they take it rather very literally. So they only use their voices, no instruments. Even more hardcore is they kind of say that if you do use instruments, it's kind of like blasphemous and you're not really worshiping.
Wow.
So, yeah, right? So I grew up that way. I go to a Baptist church now, and it is the complete other extreme.
Right.
Guitars and drums and violins and flutes and everything.
Yeah.
So it's one extreme to the other, which I think is weird.
Yeah.
And just my last point about it is, I don't feel anything when they sing. That's like the most boring part.
Right.
I want it to be over with. I kind of show up late sometimes, so the music's over with, so I can just hear the words.
I wonder if that's why, like, a lot of men don't go to church. You know how church is kind of dominated by women because they like the singing, but the men kind of, they get kind of tired of it or bored with it or whatever.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, my fiance, Lydia, she loves the singing. She likes to get there earlier, and she sings, and I'm just kind of sitting there, and she's always, like, nudging me, like, participate.
Right. Do you ever sing along?
No, man, I don't. No. Yeah. No, I don't. I can't lie, though. At this Baptist church, some of the songs are kind of jamming. Like, the beat's good, and I'm kind of tapping my feet and stuff, kind of, moving to it. But, I mean, I really just wish it would be over with most of the time.
Right. That's interesting about the Church of Christ, that they have, like, a rule against no instruments, against instruments, period. But, I mean, David used a harp, and they talk about using instruments in other places in the Bible. So I had never, I mean, I may have heard of that before, but it never sunk in that people do that.
That's what why I wanted to call, really, because I don't know if people know that. It's a very, very interesting thing.
Yeah.
And they stand by it too. They make a point to bring up why they're only singing with voices.
Right.
It's a big deal. Yeah.
And
So
then a lot of,
you
a lot of these Baptist choirs and black choirs especially, but maybe many other choirs, they tend to have like homosexuals in their church choirs.
Oh yeah! Oh my God! Yes.
And Patrick is watching online. He says, "My experience is men don't like to sing in church, with exceptions, of course." And that's what made me think of that.
Yeah, you're right. That's interesting. They have every now and then on like America's Got Talent, some of these big shows on the big networks. They have these big black church Baptist choirs,
right?
And there's always this flamboyant homosexual speaker of like the choir,
right,
for TV. And yeah, that is kind of an exception. I think Patrick's right. With the exception, the guys don't really care to sing. This morning, though, I thought this was funny. There was this one dude, this real, like, I don't know, maybe a teenager, this little black kid up in the very front, and he was standing up and raising his hands and dancing and singing at the top of his lungs. And I was just looking at it like, dude, what are you doing? I don't know. It's just weird to me. Like, he was putting on a show. He knew he was in the front.
Yeah.
And everyone could see him. It just seemed hypocritical to me. I don't know. Maybe that was just my judgment, too.
Well, I know, yeah, maybe there are people out there. I know that Jesse has done it. I've done it, I admit. Like, when I went to a Christian university after I transferred, and we went to chapel, and that was at a point where I was like really like trying to be serious about my Christianity.
Right.
And so like I had never been raised to like raise up my hands or stuff like that, but I tried it because I was trying to be like I was trying like everything to be serious about becoming a real Christian. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who are showy like what you described too, but a lot of people are really just, like Jesse says, they're trying the best that they can. Sure. And this is the best that they know.
Did that do anything for you? Did that help connect you?
No.
Or no?
No, I mean, it was kind of like embarrassing, but like at that time, like I was so trying so hard that I wasn't even really that embarrassed about it anymore. and partly because it wasn't like somebody else telling me to do it. It was just some idea I got in my mind. I'm going to try this. And, basically I was just seeking it with like my emotions. Because that's all I knew what to do with. Yep.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, man, I just wanted to call and bring up the Church of Christ thing, and then, the extreme. I'm on the other extreme now where they go all out with the music, yeah.
I don't like that gospel stuff, where they chant, like they kind of repeat stuff to no end, that repetitive, and they're all overexcited, and I'm just not excited with them, and then it's like grating on my nerves and all that. I don't like that stuff.
I know. I agree. This is very alternative. It's almost like alternative rock mixed with country.
Okay. Over at your church?
Yeah. It's real. It's like young people, alternative rock kind of country sounding music. It's not the traditional, gospel music, but it's different. Again, it's kind of cool. I really don't. I don't see the point in it. It's kind of like when you go to shows or a concert or something, they have the opener who kind of gets you excited. It just seems like a show to me. I don't know. It takes away from.
Yeah.
Personally, it takes away from it to me. So yeah, that's all.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like when I went to this Christian college, it was mostly whites, right, at this Christian college. But they had some blacks and they had some others. And they would start to play they would bring the blacks up and play this gospel music on us and like kind of force it on us. I'm like,
what?
Especially towards the end. And I was like, man, I don't like this.
Weird. That was in California?
Yeah, in outside of LA.
That really doesn't make sense. I mean, down here, I'm in the South.
Right.
And, I can understand that here. That's really weird why they would just force that.
Yeah.
Being out of place, too. Like, it didn't even make any sense, right?
Right. I mean, there are people who are good sports about it. They liked it or whatever. They wanted to connect with the black Christians and stuff like that. So you can understand it, but it's like, I did not need that.
You can see the older, the 60-plus-year-old people, mostly the white people in the church I go to, when the music and stuff's going on and all that's happening, they're just sitting there like stone-faced. Not just the men and their wives. That wasn't a part of what they do.
It's definitely, right.
It's out of place to them. You can see it. It's on their face.
It's actually kind of inconsiderate. I mean, you just have to.
I agree.
Yeah.
Dude, I thought that today, man. There was this old guy sitting behind that kid who I was telling you was standing up, making a fool of himself. And I was watching this guy behind him, this old white guy, just feeling sorry for him. Like, it's really inconsiderate to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
It seemed kind of weird. Like, that's kind of wrong to do.
Yeah. But the people with the strong personalities force their way in and kind of impose on others.
That's right. The loudest voice make the most noise,
All right, Brandon, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man, I'll talk to you later. Have a good day.
All right, you too. I got another caller. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Patty from Michigan.
Hey, Patty, how are you?
Good. How are you, James?
Fine, thank you. Thanks for calling.
I was just calling about the singing in the church. I just wanted to tell Jesse not to change anything.
Okay.
I love what he's doing, and if you want to listen to the singing, go to a brick and mortar church.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I really enjoy listening to Jesse speak about his experiences and his knowledge. And when he talks, he makes us go within and think about ourselves, and I really enjoy that.
Yeah, and he tells people to know for themselves. He really coaxes it out of people to engage and answer what they really believe, and don't be too embarrassed or trying to get the right answer, but tell what you really think so that you can know for yourself whether you really know what you're talking about or not, and how you explore kind of how you become more aware of how you live and how you are. And I like that.
Yeah. Yes, I've learned so much from his show, and it's helping change my life, and I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, and it's refreshing hearing people open up and speak honestly, and you can really relate to almost anybody who gets into a conversation with him, no matter where they're coming from. If they're have things, wherever they're coming from, black, white, whether they're atheists or Christians, you can really connect with what they're talking about, with Jesse.
Yes, as one human race. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so tell him not to change anything. I just love it, and I look forward to it every week.
Cool, appreciate it, Patty.
Kind of off the subject, but have you heard from that gentleman from Chicago that was on maybe a month ago or so?
Yeah, you're talking about Daniel, who I think he's 27 or so, and he called in Jesse's show, and we put out a YouTube video and said that black man from Chicago is woke. And we interviewed him a second time on Newsmax TV and just talked about what it was like growing up in the south side of Chicago, and he eventually moved out from there. But he said
I really enjoyed that. How's he doing?
He's doing well. I see him on Facebook a bit. I connected with him on Facebook in order to invite him onto the show a second time. And so he seems to be doing well.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, he is. He's had an interesting, challenging life. And it's kind of nice to see somebody like that really, really connect with the truth that Jesse's talking about.
Yeah, and be able to turn his life around. And
by the way,
it was good.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, Patty, how do you like Oprah? What do you think of her?
I don't. No, I don't. She's fake and evil. I don't think that she'll run. I don't think so.
Yeah.
And even if she did, I don't think that she would win.
Yeah, I definitely agree. She is fake and evil. She comes off as kind of likable because she's, at least when she's talking not to somebody else, she comes off as more sincere. When she's talking to somebody, you notice that she's just kind of being a people pleaser.
Yeah.
But
kind of like Obama.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she supports all the same stuff that Obama's talking about. Jesse's written an article that's going to go up on WorldNet Daily today about all the things that she's said and done and supported, and Obama, and he made the point on Friday, I believe, morning, first thing, that Oprah is worse than Obama. And
I believe it.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny because a lot of people find her likable. I think I kind of find her likable too. Seeing kind of her and Ellen DeGeneres, even though they're evil people, they're deceptive and disgusting people. They hate Trump and all that stuff. They're still kind of likable in a way, and like you see what they've gone through in their lives and stuff like that.
I used to like them both many years ago and watch them both until I started educating myself and getting more into politics and things like that, and then learning who they are and what they're really about. Yeah,
and it's kind of Jesse sets kind of a good example in not hating them or attacking them out of spite, but just like calling them out for what they are, because they're really not setting a good example. They're not leading in the right way. They're promoting everything wrong and attacking everything good. So
they don't want what's best for the country or for Americans.
Right. They're sincerely like misguided. Yeah. And they're not even that sincere, to be honest. You're right. Like you said, they're fake. Well, I was curious because it sounded like you may have been familiar with both of them. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thanks for taking my call, James. I appreciate your show and Jesse and everything you guys do.
Cool. Thank you, Patty. Take care.
Keep up the great work. Thank you.
All right. Bye. Well, Christianity is supposed to be about having joy and peace and all that stuff. And that's one of the things that attracted me to it even though I grew up so-called Christian, in like 7th, 8th, no more like 8th, 9th, 10th grade through high school, all through high school. I remember going to this Christian family camp, and this Christian camp during the summertime with my family and other high schoolers and things like that. And one of the speakers said, "How many of you guys would like to live without stress?" And that really connected with me, because I am like a high stress person. I tend to even though I don't have a very particularly stressful life, people figure out ways, including me, I figure out ways to make it stressful and to stress out, because that is what worry is the point that this speaker was making, is when you become stressed out, you're really worrying. And Jesus says not to worry. And so that's very attractive to me, because worry is like one of the, a really, really bad feeling. You don't want to live a life worrying, but most people do. And I was one of those people. And so I wanted to have, I really liked and sought after, the joy and the peace that Christianity was supposed to offer. And that's part of what, this thing with what I'm saying with Jesse singing all the time. It's kind of evidence that he has joy. Stuff doesn't really get him down. And I'm not saying that singing is evidence of joy, because it's really not. But in his case, I think it is. It's just another example. But in Christianity, you're supposed to have peace, but most people do not. And they claim to, because a lot of the times they're not in stress, but really they don't. And they're angry and worried and all that stuff. And you notice that church women are very worried people oftentimes, and men are just not in church. But those who are in church kind of cater to the worries of women, and the kids who grow up worryful people and stressed out and all that stuff. And so we're supposed to be having peace. But then you look at us, and we basically kind of live like Oprah lives. And Oprah is an insecure person. President Trump made the point, and Jesse made the point, that Oprah is insecure. And you know that she's insecure because of what Patty mentioned, that she's fake with people. If you're fake with people, that's because you're insecure. You're not secure in being, you're not confident to be genuine with them. You don't care about them enough. You don't love them to be genuine. You're afraid of them. You want to please them. And so Christianity is full of people pleasers in America today, and it's really, really, really hurting the country because we just kind of roll over, or we're too busy or whatever, but we basically let evil take over. Kind of like at Azusa Pacific, where I went to school, we let those gospel choir people take over the service and put their music on us, which is even worse than the pop Christian music worship stuff that we were singing beforehand. We just let the pushier people take over. And so, Jesse wrote about Oprah and has talked about Oprah so much, and Obama too. Those two promote homosexuality and transgender stuff, and a whole lot of other people are pushing that too. But they push it, and think about how much the world has changed since the year 2000 even. It was not popular to be for homosexuality. It was kind of a shame to be a homosexual in the high school that I went to back in like 1996, 7, 8, 9. And so it's getting worse because we don't have actual peace. We don't have actual joy or confidence or love. And so that's one of the things that really has to change. I have a caller. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, good morning or good afternoon, James. This is KT calling from Maryland.
Hey, KT, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Did you go to church this morning?
No, I did not. You know what? I stopped going to that church,
Oh, okay.
because, it's one of those churches you go to, those feel-good churches, and, you come back the next day and then you go back in the same position you were before you went to church,
Right. Yeah.
It's one of those feel-good churches. Oh, and they're very, very good on that worship music,
Did you like it at the time?
I'm sorry?
Did you like the worship music at the time?
Oh my God, yes. I love that. I love that music because it makes you feel good. They're very fond of, playing Hillsong music.
Yeah.
And that Hillsong music can get to your soul, man. It makes you feel so good, And the moment you just stop listening to it, you go back in the same funk you were in before you started listening to it,
Yeah.
And I see a lot of people, some close people, they listen to that Hillsong, you just see them feeling good about it. And once they turn it off, they just go back to what they were.
Right. Yeah. That's true.
It's just similar to that worldly music. I remember when I was all into that worldly music,
Yeah.
I used to think of a track, I used to feel sad, and I used to think to myself, what can I listen to feel good right now?
Yeah.
I'll go turn on a little slow, sad song, or a happy song, or whatever, Katy Perry, whatever, and turn on and put me back in a good mood, and I'll just do that over and over again.
Yeah. That's true. That's the same thing that actually Jesse interviewed a couple of years ago, Mike Cernovich, prior to Trump's election. And he talked about how so much of the way we feel is directed by what we're focusing on. And he said, if you're in a bad mood, just listen to some nice music and that'll get you out of it. But like you're saying, that's not definitely not a permanent solution.
Exactly. It's not. You know, it's just like a little fix.
Yeah.
You know, and what was I going to say? What was I going to say? So I was going to talk about Oprah, and Oprah has been together with her boyfriend, Stedman, is his name.
Yeah.
What, for about 20, 30 years plus, I think. Between 20 and 30 years. And they've never been married.
Right.
You know, can you imagine that? So that just tells me everything about Oprah, you know, and Trump was right. She is insecure.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And it's funny because I hadn't really thought of her as insecure before he mentioned it, but it's true. And then Jesse said the same thing just on Friday, that she is insecure. And she claims to believe in God, but she doesn't seem to do anything right morally. Very successful and very good businesswoman, whatever, and knows how to present herself on TV and all that for decades. Ever since I can remember, she's been on TV. And, but you're right. Like, I hadn't really considered the Stedman thing, but yeah, it's very strange. And I think I remember she was pregnant as a young girl, and she's gone through a lot in her life. And she hasn't really
an abortion?
I don't know what happened. And I've never heard her opinion about abortion, but she supported Obama like crazy. And Obama was the most pro-abortion president I can ever think of. And so she's definitely, she doesn't speak on it. And I think that she's smart not to do it for the sake of her success, because I think it would open the eyes of of many women who are not for abortion, and men, but she's mostly popular with women. And blacks.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's just, she's kind of emblematic of the black community in that they like pretend to believe in God, but they really support everything evil.
Exactly. Yeah.
And women too. She's emblematic of how women are too. Most women support evil. I mean, especially unmarried women, which she is. Exactly.
Yeah, and you did make a good point earlier about how a lot of churches cater to women.
Yeah.
You know?
Man, what a shame, huh?
I know. You know, it's I'd never thought about that, but that was actually a very good point.
So you just watch church with Jesse Lee Peterson? Do you?
Oh yes, no, I just watch church, because I mean there are a lot of churches in my area, but every church you go to now, like the church that's about 5 minutes from where I live, there's a gay flag, a rainbow gay flag, and a Black Lives Matter sign hanging out of their church.
Wow. Yeah, that's the other thing, is how you brought up Hillsong. It's so liberal. I mean, Hillsong, I know Hillsong NYC, which is where that boy who sings Justin Bieber's friends with Pastor Carl Lentz, who went on The View and wouldn't stand against abortion, and he supports Black Lives Matter. He doesn't support All Lives Matter. He's just like, and he's like an extreme, because he's more, like you said, the Hillsong, which is just all entertainment value, big show, big production, very, very popular. But most of these churches, these intellectual people that become pastors, they go into seminaries, and they're LGBTQ supporters and all of that, and they're Black Lives Matter supporters, and they're supposed to be Christians. I mean, Hillary Clinton is supposed to be a Christian too, which is so bizarre. It's shocking to me anytime anybody brings up the notion that Hillary is Christian. I was just talking with somebody on Facebook, and they were saying, "Oh, Hillary's a Christian." And
I've never heard her come out and speaking of her Christianity.
No, me neither. Because she's not really. She'll just go into the black churches and talk black to try to be like, get in with them.
She's the perfect epitome of a politician, a lying, conniving politician.
Yeah. But you're right. And, I mean, it seems like more and more Christians, especially like Christians who are coming out of these Azusa Pacific University, where I came out, It's majority. Most of them, like shockingly, I find that most of my friends were liberal and professors and all that. I mean, granted, I went to the art department, and artists tend to be very liberal, but it's very liberal. And then there was a talk about race. Jesse interviewed one of the guys who spoke on a panel about race, and it was for Black History Month and MLK Day and all that stuff. And this guy that Jesse spoke to, and we'll put it out on YouTube soon. But he was the only panelist who was conservative, who was like, no, Black Lives Matter is not good. And all the rest, it was like 3 or 4 others, a pastor, a male pastor, a female pastor, and someone else, and maybe even someone else. But they're all liberal, and this is going to a Christian school. And
exactly,
yeah, it's
and
really ridiculous.
That's why I think the election of Trump has been it's been such a great thing, because it's revealed a lot of things. It's revealed a lot of things within a lot of people.
Right.
Now you see this church is coming out supporting Black Lives Matter. You see this church is coming out, with gay flags hanging out, LGBTQ.
Yeah.
You see this churches coming out and talking about, trans people welcome, embrace, this and this and that, you see these churches coming out talking about abortion just like it's something normal,
Yeah, it's true. It's shocking.
That's why I think Trump's election has been a great thing for this country.
I agree. People have really revealed themselves. They've showed themselves to be evil, nasty, disgusting people. And I'm talking about the people that hate Trump. They're they're not logical in their hatred. They're not, none of what they're about or saying is true, nor is anything that they're pushing good. And in many cases, like you said, it's kind of nakedly evil in that it's not even pretending to be about good. But people are so deceived and deluded that they've accepted so much evil as fine, as good. And they have a false impression of love, like Christian love, as being empathy, where you support homosexuality and you support transgender people because you're pro-people and you're pro-love and you're pro-living your truth, as Oprah calls it, and you're pro-living authentically. And that's not authentic. That's giving in to the worst impulses about human nature is not authentic at all. But they call it that, and it deludes people.
Exactly, and this is why I like what Jesse's approach to this, because Jesse doesn't go out and say, "Oh, hey, come in my church, come this, I accept you." Jesse says, "Hey, that's evil, that's bad, and but I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to judge you. I'm going to accept you as a person. But you have to overcome that evil. You have to overcome all those. You have to overcome whatever's going through you right now.
That's true. And like the people who, in a sense, his message is perfect for everybody, because so many of the Christians are disgusted you can't blame people for being disgusted by disgusting things, but they do judge and are angry and hate the stuff that's happening because it is evil, but they hate it, and it's they're becoming what they're accused of being, which is hateful.
Exactly.
And so, or they already are kind of hateful. But they're being falsely accused of all this, of, unjustly discriminating against gays who want to force them to make a cake, for example. And all these people, that really makes people mad when an injustice happens and lies. Christians tend to, at least nominal Christians, tend to hate lies. And when you lie to them, that's a nice way to make them hate you. And people hated Obama. They hated the LGBTQ stuff and Black Lives Matter, because it's just such blatant lies. and it's so phony and fake and anti-justice that that it's causing people to like hate, and that's why Jesse's example is perfect, because it's correcting both sides, both the liberal haters and the conservative haters, but especially the conservative haters because they're more receptive to what Jesse's talking about. So it's really important.
Exactly. Well, I'm enjoying the show, and great talking to you, James, and I'll be looking forward to the church later on.
All right.
And we'll be waiting for the next show next week.
Thank you, KT. Take care.
All right. Keep up the great work.
Thanks. I have one more caller. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Mace.
Hey, Mace, how are you?
I'm just fine, James. I have a question for you.
Okay.
When it comes to abortion,
Yeah.
okay, I don't believe in people having abortion, but it's their right to have one, and it's not my business. So,
but that's very odd. Don't you think that's very odd? You think it's their right to kill the baby in the womb?
Well, that's what I'm saying. But do you believe in death penalty?
Yes.
I don't, because that's an abortion too.
But
I don't
a
think
death
you have
penalty
the right to
is
take no one's life, but it's your business if you do what you want to do with your body.
So you support the right? Do you support the right of the government to institute the death penalty?
No, I don't.
Don't you support the right of people to have an abortion?
No, I don't.
You just said it's their right to do it.
Because I said they have the right. That's their body.
But they don't have the right to do it.
James, they're taking over.
Wait. That's not their body, though. It's the baby's body. It's the baby's body, and it belongs to the man and the woman.
No.
Yes.
Now, how do you tell a person if you wanted to cut your leg off? That's your business.
But a baby is not your leg. A baby in the womb is not your leg. It belongs to the man and the woman and God, really.
Okay, well, I put it this way: like Bruce Jenner tried to change himself into a woman because he's still a man. Do you care about that?
Kind of. I mean, it's.
Well, now you kind of.
Yes, I do care about it. I do care about it because it's wrong.
It's wrong, but that's his body.
Yeah, but the baby is not his body.
His body and tell him what and get upset about it. And then again, when you come to conservative and
wait.
Okay.
You said that it's their right to kill the baby in the womb, so it's the state's right to kill the criminal for committing a capital offense.
That's what it is.
It is their right, right?
I don't care to kill. No, it's not their right. They take the right because God is not doing it.
So then it's not the woman's right. They take the right, right? It's not the woman's right. She just takes the right.
Well, if she takes the right, so you believe in abortion.
No, I don't.
You don't believe in abortion, but you believe in a death penalty.
It's the difference. It's the difference between innocence and guilt. The child is completely innocent. There's no right to kill the child in the womb, but there is a right to kill somebody who's committed a capital offense. You got to do that.
But how could you do that? One of his laws says thou shalt not kill. So you're killing if you kill somebody. Either way, a baby or if you're killing a person.
Okay, but then God told people to kill, so there must be exceptions. Yes, he did.
If he told people to kill, so maybe that's what women do. So that's why I'm saying I don't understand
why. That's ridiculous.
Why you get hung up with this abortion stuff.
Okay, all right.
If you don't believe in it, you just don't. And so I wanted to ask you about this liberal and this conservative stuff.
What do you think about Oprah?
What do I think about Oprah? What you mean about how?
You like Oprah?
Yes, I do.
Would you vote for her for president if she ran for president?
No, I wouldn't. No.
Really? Do you vote?
I don't. What?
Do you vote?
Do I vote? Yes, I do.
But you wouldn't vote for Oprah?
I don't. I didn't tell you how I vote. I don't have people indoctrinate me to vote. I vote for who I think that's right to be the president of this country. So do you hear me when I say you hear this liberal and this conservative stuff? So now when you go out to eat...
No, but it's about morality, really. It's not about liberal or conservative. It's about right versus wrong. It's just the conservatives have the right positions.
Oh, it's about anger because there's a lot of people that's angry.
Yeah, but you're angry.
Other people to be angry and hate. No, I'm not. See, you hated Obama. For what reason?
Because I'm a hateful person. But
that's your right to do that.
No, it's not.
But that don't mean I got to do it. Yes, it is.
It's not. You don't have a right to hate. A lot of people do it, and you can't do anything about it. But
yes, you can.
What can you do about my hate towards Obama?
I can't do anything about your hate. But
See,
try to find out why
that's all I'm saying. Oh,
and if you bring that out, I understand it.
I hated Obama because I'm a hateful person.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And because he's evil. I mean,
I will tell you what, I don't hate Trump.
Yeah. You don't hate Trump?
No, I don't hate Trump.
All right.
But I don't like what he's doing. That don't make me have to hate him and then and say nasty things about him and all this stuff. But you in the Christian
But you
world,
say such nasty things. I mean, you make all these accusations about.
What have you heard me say? Tell me.
You've made all these accusations like, that you've accused Jesse of and me of encouraging people to hate black people, for example. And
No,
that's not true. I'm not encouraging hate. I'm not, at least not purposely. And Jesse's definitely not encouraging hate.
Not purposely. You don't do it purposely, so I guess you do it unconscious.
I don't think that anybody hates blacks because of me. I think they hate blacks because they're hateful people.
Because of you. And I didn't say that people hate blacks because of you.
Huh?
It's just something that's within you that needs to come out so you can understand that black people are no harm to you, just like Caucasian people are no harm to you.
Right.
I don't fear. It's the fear that you have in you, that you want the things that you do to just bring out like all of the things that black. If
you don't know me, Maze, do you want to talk? I think I have another caller who may want to talk to you.
No, but let me finish, Jane. Okay, let me finish.
All right, real quick.
Say that I was a turtle, and then I wanted to tell all the turtles to dislike the turtle. So how do you teach them to do that?
How do you teach?
Unless you tell them all the bad things the turtles do, but then the kangaroo is over there doing the same thing, but you don't never talk about the kangaroo. You just point at the turtle all the time because he's slow. But then you get everything you do, you point at the turtle, but just let the kangaroo just get away with everything. But they're doing the exact same thing.
Whatever.
They never get punished, never get talked about.
I have a caller for you, Mace. I have a caller.
Okay.
Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, James. Good morning, and good morning, Maze. This is Tim from Louisiana.
Good morning, Tim.
And I have a question for Maze.
Uh-oh. Go for it.
Maze, do you think just like Oprah that all...
No, I don't think like Oprah, because I don't have anything against Oprah. So now, do you think like James?
No, he didn't. Let him finish the question, because he hadn't finished the question.
I want to know, do you think that all old racist people should just die?
Should they do what?
Die.
No, I don't.
Because Oprah said that there are generations of older people born and bred in prejudice and racism, and they just have to die.
Well, could that be on both
sides? And Obama says the same thing. Obama says the younger people are better than us. But the younger people are not better. They believe in racism.
What do you mean the younger people are better than us? You young.
No, but he's talking about younger generations.
So do you have something else to ask me that makes some sense, Sonny?
Anything else for Tim?
If you put your brain on good stuff, you wouldn't have to have evil things come out of your mouth.
Huh? Say that again?
If you put your brain on things that make sense, and evil things wouldn't have to come out of your mouth. So you just think about the things that you say and the things that you do.
Back at you.
Excuse me?
I said back at you.
Well,
if you don't put your brain on evil things like judging white people for
I don't judge Caucasian people.
Yeah, you do.
That's what you say.
Yeah.
Tell me how I judge them. Tell me how I judge them.
Anytime
you want to accuse somebody, explain it. Tell me how I judge them.
Anytime that somebody, like a white collar, Bible go-to guy or somebody on Jesse's show, the Jesse Lee Peterson show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. Pacific, jlptalk.com. Anytime a white guy is talking about blacks, you call in and you jump on that person.
I don't jump on them.
Yeah, you do.
To look in the mirror. A reflection of yourself is what?
Yeah, but take out the plank in your own eye before you remove the speck out of your brother's eye.
Really?
Yes.
But they're not your brother.
That's in the Bible.
So I was supposed to just sit and listen to you put black people down, and then turn around and ask you a question about you.
But telling the truth about black people isn't putting them down. If they're put down, they'll be chastened.
It's trying to help them out. It's not putting them down.
How are you helping them? How are you helping them? Excuse me. How do you help them?
By telling the truth, so that and not accepting their constant denial of the evil that's going on in their community, because they are in denial about it. They excuse it, and it's and then they say, "Oh, white people do it too." So you no, it's like my brother would always say, "You did it first." And then you want to turn around and talk about somebody else, and then they're on the same level with you, but then you want to discuss just one group of people. What did I do?
Y'all don't do wrong?
I do wrong. I do wrong.
They do everything perfect? So why don't you have a conversation about you?
We do, all the time. Every Sunday. Every Sunday we have a conversation about us. And
Really?
yes,
What was
really.
Yes.
Only conversation.
And
only
then
conversation
anybody
I
who
hear-
calls into Jesse's show has a conversation about themselves.
have a conversation about black people.
No, themselves. Because
Oh,
like you
yes,
said, you have to deal with yourself first.
It should be about, yeah, that's right, but you're not dealing with yourself. You were talking to black people. But
No,
they
but
can't
you have
talk
to
back
report
you.
about what's going on in the world. And there's a whole lot
That's
of
right. You
evil,
won't even
and there's a
report
whole
what's
lot of
going on in
evil
the
coming
world.
from blacks.
It comes from the Hispanics to the,
Yep.
the Native Americans,
Right.
to everybody except you.
I didn't say that. It's you're assuming. You're assuming. You
That's
know what
all
happens when
you
you
don't-
assume?
I'm not assuming.
Yeah, you are.
I know.
Because you said that I said it doesn't come from me. But I know that
You
it
wanna
comes
go-
from me. Huh?
You want to go to...
Maze, you
wanna
are
go to-
of your father, the devil.
Well, you can
Okay,
use that.
true.
You indoctrinated
You
to
use
use
a
other
very
people's words. Find a
angry,
word of your own. Stop trying to use
opinionated
Jeff's
woman.
words. And guess who you are?
You just
You
need
are
to listen
No,
to
no,
the
no, no,
truth
no, no.
and accept it as a truth
Young man,
instead of
can I tell you
listening
what you
to
need
the
to do?
lie and
No.
watching
What?
Oprah and Beyonce.
I don't watch Oprah. See, that's your problem. You're indoctrinated. You hate.
I'm not
And you don't know
indoctrinated.
you hate. Yes,
How
you
am I
are.
indoctrinated?
You're a young boy
Tell
walking
me how
around
my-
with your head.
tell me how I'm
you own.
indoctrinated.
I'm gonna tell you the three things that you own is not even important in this world. You talk about
You
abortion.
don't even know me.
You don't know me either.
I know you're Maze, and you're a very angry woman.
That's why I'm taking you through one, and you don't know how to get out of it. See, if you get
you're probably a
indoctrinated to be
man.
like, what does the God commandment tell you to do? Love thy neighbor as thyself.
And
So
do
if
you do
got a
that, Mace?
neighbor-
Do you do that?
What?
Do you love thy
Yes,
neighbor
I'm
as thyself?
See, most people would not talk to have a conversation with you, or they'd be all so upset and calling you all kind of names and everything else. Do I do that? No, I don't. I'm asking a question. You're silent now.
I don't even think you know what you do, Maze. You just come on
I know
here
what I
and
do.
start going
I
100
know what I
miles
do.
an hour.
I don't let people indoctrinate me to think like them. That's
Yeah,
what I
but-
do. I use the
We
brain
were
that
talking
I have.
about hooping and hollering, and now you're on here hooping and hollering.
Here you go again. You off the ship. You jumping
But
off
you are
again.
indoctrinated,
Somewhere
Maze.
else. Stay with me.
You think
Stay
you are
with me.
indoctrinated because you think abortion,
Stay with
killing a
me.
baby in the womb is a right.
You think it's okay to
That's-
abort
I did-
babies
that
in the
is a-
womb?
I said that
That's
was a right. I said
indoctrination. That's
I said
classic
a woman's
indoctrination.
right.
That's not a right to kill a
Now here you
unborn
go
child.
again. I said a life is a life, regardless of if you kill them.
Yep.
Or
And
you
you
kill
and you
'em
believe
by
in thou
law.
shalt not kill.
That's right. I said it says
Thou
thou shalt
shalt
not
not
kill.
So then you don't have a right to kill.
But you would believe,
Yes,
you
indeed.
believe, and I'm quite sure your little hair man over there believes the same thing too.
Uh,
Stop talking about abortion and
Tim,
find
you
something
Tim, you
constructive.
support capital punishment?
So, Maze, let me ask you: Is it a sin to kill?
Is it a sin to do what?
Kill.
To kill.
Yes, it is a sin that you said thou shalt not kill.
So why are you
I mean,
okay
it's a
with
sin.
killing babies?
Why do you believe in the death penalty?
Death
See, Maze,
penalty?
you're trying to
Yes.
think that the death penalty
No,
is
it's
wrong,
the same
and you're trying to
thing.
justify it with
You
one
need
wrong
to-
with
I'm not
another.
justifying
But
it right now.
the death penalty is right. Abortion is
A
wrong.
killing is a killing.
No, yeah,
Both of them are
that's
wrong.
ridiculous.
Both of them are wrong.
No.
But it's like I
Wrong.
say, Bruce Jenner had the opportunity to do with what he wanted to do with his body. That's not my business. And I don't see y'all running around telling him it's wrong for a man to turn his body that way.
It is
to
wrong.
mess his body up like that. But it's just like it's
So you
wrong
think
for an
it's
abortion.
right for
I don't hear
someone
that
to
coming out of
kill
your
a
mouth.
child in the womb?
Because somebody
Not
haven't
even
given it
give
to
it-
you. If
you
they
don't-
give it to you to go around and repeat it, that's
All
what
right.
you do.
For the sake of my listeners and myself, thank you, Maze. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and for the sake of your little partner on the side, stop trying to repeat what Jesse said.
Maze, have
Jesse's
a good
words,
day.
his words, and stop trying to use them.
I appreciate
Have
it.
a good
Wow.
one, boys.
So mean. All right. Bye, Maze. Well, Tim,
That's amazing.
you amazing. You handled her,
And
but she
is
didn't
twisted,
accept it.
Twisted. she wants you say something to hit her ear and it just fall right on her shoulder. She don't even want to listen.
Yeah.
She just start going.
What's interesting about Maze, she's been listening to Jesse for like 20 years, I've heard, or 28 years maybe.
I'll give her credit for that. That's amazing how she religiously tunes in to hear the opposition. So I'll give her credit for that.
And she's listening to my show. Isn't that cool?
I know that's crazy.
Thank you, Maze.
So, Maze,
Appreciate
if
it.
you're still listening, I appreciate you, James. You keep up the good work.
All right,
And,
thank you,
I'll
Tim.
be tuning in for church. Thank you.
Right on. Take care. Well, that was interesting. So, do not vote for Oprah. And abortion is not a right. The death penalty, I believe, is justified in many cases. And seek first the kingdom of God, like what Jesse says. And that's probably the way to get peace and joy and all that stuff. So I just want to thank you guys for tuning in. And make sure that you check out Jesse's article, which is going to be up on WorldNet Daily this afternoon. follow him on Twitter at JLP Talk, and you can find him probably going to be tweeting about that this afternoon or in the morning, and you will like that, because he really reminds you, because these people are very, I believe that Oprah is more charming than Obama. Obama was nakedly fake, like so much. And maybe it's because he was in power, and whereas Oprah, she is powerful in that she's influential, but she is not the president yet. But she will become hated if she becomes president. And that's not good. You do not want Oprah or Kamala Harris, as Jesse said, or Big Mama Michelle for president. And that's that. Well, thank you guys for tuning in, and tune in for Church in 1 Hour, Church with Jesse Lee Peterson. Subscribe to Bond Rebuilding the Man on YouTube. Subscribe and go to rebuildingtheman.com/church and support Bond. Jesse and Bond are about rebuilding men, which is very necessary, as you've seen with the feminized churches, which are totally ineffective in fighting evil. In fact, they embrace evil. So thank you guys, and take care.